Greetings from Snake Mountain Boat Works on Thursday, February 14, 2019. The Eagle is enjoying Valentine's Day. Well, I'm not so sure how much she's enjoying it. Joe and I finished stripping and then scrubbing her hull sides and are quite pleased with the results. Everything seems to be in really good shape. We did encounter the phantom, quote, restorer, unquote, who tried to repair some kind of a problem on the port hull sides and selected a mahogany plank that is entirely different than anything else, but that's not the real issue. The hull sides will be painted, so it doesn't matter that the grain doesn't match and that sort of thing. It would have been nice if the dimensions matched, but we'll take care of that with our sanders. The board is too wide and too thick, but other than that, it's a perfect fit. And now, it's the only shortboard on the entire hull because the Eagle is planked not only in mahogany, but in full-length planks. There are no seams on the hull sides, save for the two created by this person's work. RJ and I are in the process now of delving into a series of issues, as is so often the case. Old boats hide much, and in the earlier video, I commented on the fact that we really hadn't found any rot. Well, we hadn't. At least we hadn't found any rot that the varnish wasn't hiding. I have started stripping the foredeck this morning. I'm doing this section in sort of the old school way, using a heat gun. The interesting thing is there's really not much varnish on this boat. We're amazed at how little's here. Well, if you look at this and you say to yourself, well, okay, he's got that section done. He can just keep going. Well, not quite. As you see, the nose, which is a nice wide piece of mahogany that was laid in by Lyman cross-grain, is pretty clean. There's an area, I just don't know. Yes, I think we can see it. Right here, where I haven't finished scrubbing. It's a process we call bleeding the stain out of the wood, which I will demonstrate later. The nice thing about the heat gun, when you have very little material to work with, is that that finished material, in this case varnish, comes off really quite easily and quite quickly. I'll grab this guy. I can show you. We use DeWalt heat guns. Not only do they seem to last forever and put up with all manner of abuse, the LCD monitor is just an excellent tool to have, because you don't always want to run this thing as it is right now at 1100 degrees. This particular heat gun is infinitely variable up to 1100 degrees. So here's basically how quickly we can a little difficult to keep the gun in front of the camera and the scraper in front of the camera, but I think you get the gist. Especially if I take it down to where I'm working. So the varnish, using our Sandvik scraper and Baco blade, the varnish comes off very nicely and very quickly. But and the other nice aspect of this is that the leavings are immediately dry, so we're not making a mess. But for the sake of demonstration later, I'm also going to do a section of this using the circa 1850 stripper, probably right beside this where I've been using the heat gun. I'll use this on the stripper. But as you can see, even with the heat gun, we've pretty much removed the surface finish off these 4 planks right here. But see all the blotchy color? For that, we will be reaching in the future all the way across this deck and elsewhere on the boat that is going to be finished bright. Just laying in a bit of circa 1850, which we buy from Jamestown. It's a Jamestown private label brand. The scraper's not going to do it. What you want is the stainless steel pot scrubber. And you scrub and scrub. And every time I think I'm finished, RJ comes by and says, hey, that looks pretty good. It only needs a little more scrubbing. Just a little more. So this you don't apply and let sit as you would if you're removing paint or the varnish itself. It's immediate, and I think you can see pretty clearly that the wood is now quite clean all the way across here. Well, now let's get to the rot issues that we've discovered just a few minutes ago. This plank was, before I stripped off the material, was all filled in and looked pretty smooth, and all of this rot in here because the Sikaflex or whatever that was in this seam failed. It kept this wet, this area wet. So this is all rotted right here. We have no choice but to replace that plank. And if we're going to replace the plank, the best way to do it is to release it and work on putting a new plank down without the dashboard in place. So RJ's in the process of releasing the dashboard. Now we would work around it, save for the fact that the first spot I showed you is just the beginning. It's rotted all along here. This plank has to be replaced. It is rotted badly right in here. So this plank must be replaced. And then Lyman understood that you don't want water sitting up on the deck getting caught. So on both port and starboard, Lyman had drilled through, or somebody did at some point, I don't know if this was Lyman, a weep hole, actually a gusher hole, I guess you'd call it. The problem is that on the deck side, the hole was way up here, and water was collecting back here. So the hole, we can't be sure until next spring when we actually get the deck wet and make sure that this exit hole is working, that we have solved the problem. But on both sides of the deck, in the area where the coaming sweeps up, windshield comes across, water's been trapped over the years in here, maybe this got plugged up. Is the other side rotted as well, RJ?
Yeah, not quite as bad, but it's still got a little bit of rot in it.
So we're faced with replacing a plank or two over there. Yeah. So we will release the dashboard. This saves us from trying to lay in new planking and sand and finish it fair with the deck right up to the backside of the dashboard without doing damage to the back, the dashboard. At the same time, the proper way to ensure that this never happens again, and the best way to, actually the most cost-effective way as well in the long run, is to release the entire coaming, entire length of the hull. So RJ is working on the dashboard now while I'm working on the foredeck. We will be popping these plugs. This one doesn't fit well anyway. I'm willing to bet you we find some rot down in that hole. This one's kind of ugly. All of these we could make serviceable, but if we're going to...
It looks to me as if they stained and varnished this and then put it on and then plugged it and then touched up all the bung holes to me.
Oh, so they actually finished the
I think they
coaming
finished it
off the boat
and then installed it. Because every single spot that there's a bung here, there's an issue with the varnish. It doesn't look like a piece of glass, that's for sure.
No, well, it will. It will. So, I'll go back to the heat gun, get out the circa 1850. RJ will continue working towards releasing the dashboard and the coamings. And at that point, we'll continue stripping everything from the rub rails up and begin addressing these rot issues that we uncovered in the process of removing the varnish. So on Valentine's Day 2019, that's our update on the 1937 20-foot Lyman runabout. Thank you so much. Bye-bye for now from Snake Mountain Boat Works.